AFR On Demand is brought to you by Breck Golf. Try Beaver Creek today, just 20 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge in the Zachary area. They've got a PGA Tour driving range, a short game practice area, 30 to 40-yard practice shots. It's a great place to chip and putt and practice if you don't have time for a full round. Book your tee time today, golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from downtown Baton Rouge.
Let's ride!
And off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. AFR presented by Relief Windows. I'm Matt.
Love you, Matt.
Paul O'Neill.
They're chanting Paul O'Neill's name.
And Mr. Toby Tom Blake. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there, make it a good one. Tigers win, Saints lose. Have a feeling we're going to say that on a lot of Mondays this year. Peter Burns, 1 hour from right now. Ross Jackson in hour 3. Let us begin as we do every single day.
It's time to pop the top on another edition of AFR with Bud Light. Drink easy.
Nussmeier drops back, forced out of the pocket, moving to his left, looking downfield, eyes downfield, throws back in the end zone. Caught by Xavion Thomas. Touchdown, Fighting Tigers.
And with that, does anyone have any questions about Nuss's torso? We good? Are we good with the torso now? LSU beat Southeastern 56-10, and I understand you don't celebrate a blowout against an FCS opponent. We're not throwing a ticker tape parade because the Tigers scored on 8 consecutive possessions against the school from Hammond, America. I understand that fully. Not sitting here sunshine pumping and telling you the Tigers are going to win the Natty, cold poosh poosh. The flip side of it is, however, if you didn't play that well, if you didn't blow them out, we'd be sitting here today with very real concerns. And I think a lot of people had at least some of those concerns alleviated for a week anyway with the way that LSU played, with the way that Garrett Nussmeier threw the football, stretching it downfield. Lo and behold, Garrett Nussmeier can still throw the ball deep. I don't know why Brian Kelly said that a week ago. It created a whirlwind that just didn't need to happen. But nonetheless, I assume now by the way, Garrett Nussmeier, 3 passes of 20 yards or more. He was 2 of 3 on those with a touchdown. That was the same number of passes beyond 20 yards he threw against Florida. But somehow this is much better. Whatever. We can stop. I would assume now everyone's content. We can stop talking about the torso. Great. We wanted to see that. We also wanted to see the run game get going. It wasn't always awesome running the football. Certainly not a great day for Caden Durham, who left the game with an ankle injury, unfortunately. But the Tigers on the day had a sack-adjusted rushing total of 155 yards, which was 4.7 yards per carry. Again, that's sack-adjusted. If you look at the rushing total, it was 35 for 135, an average of 3.9. But, again, that includes sack yardage. So you take out the sack yardage, they averaged nearly 5 yards a carry, 4.7. That's more than good enough. I thought Juwan Johnson was really good running the football. 8 carries, had a couple of touchdowns, looked good in space. The balance on his second touchdown where he kind of redirected, got tripped up in the backfield, kept his balance, got north and south. We've talked about it a lot from Juwan Johnson. I mean, he's the state's all-time leader in total yardage and total touchdowns. He knows what to do with the ball in his hands. And you may need him a little bit more this week against Ole Miss, depending on what shape Caden Durham's ankle is in. A few other things from this game. Brian Kelly wanted to see third down improvement. You saw it. You were 9 of 14 on third down. You were 3 of 3 on fourth down. If we're being honest, the game really changed. It was 7-0. Remember, the first play, they were trying to dial up a deep shot on the first play of the game. It was covered. Nuss hits the check down to Durham, who slips in the backfield. They lose 7 yards. They go 3 and out and punt. The next drive, LSU puts together the long scoring drive, half a field. But then on that third possession, they were facing a 4th and 11. They decided to go for it. They hit Xavier Thomas for 17 yards. 2 plays later, they're in the end zone, 14-0, and they never looked back. The offense was really good. If you want to look at the flip side, some of the things that maybe didn't look awesome, Pro Football Focus charted 2 drops, one from Barian Brown, one from Nick Anderson. I charted 4, a second one from Nick Anderson and one from Aaron Anderson. I guess those don't typically or technically go as drops. The one that was back-to-back plays, Barian Brown's drop on the first play of the series, and then Aaron Anderson down the right sideline, which was a ball that he had and got knocked away late. He's got to come up with that play. And then Nick Anderson had another one in the end zone that, if he hangs on to it, would have been a touchdown. Sometimes you got to make contested catches. And if you're not making them against Southeastern, what leads you to believe you're going to be able to make them against Ole Miss or some of the other teams in the SEC? So Nuss, who finished the day 25 of 31 with 3 touchdowns, really had 4 balls that he threw that maybe should have been caught. So really, you could have made a case that he should have been 29 of 31 on the day. So almost flawless for Garrett Nussmeier, which was awesome to see. Really good to see Michael Van Buren. First extended action we saw. And if you were here all throughout our fall practice reports, one of the things we talked about a lot was that Michael Van Buren and Colin Hurley really struggled. And that was objectively true. It wasn't just my eyes. It was everybody who was out there who saw it and said the same thing. And it's one of the things that's challenged whenever you're going out there and struggling with accuracy against air, which sometimes Van Buren and Hurley did in fall camp. Sometimes, though, the fact of the matter is there are guys that are just gamers. They're better in game. I remember having this conversation with Rohan years ago. That was always the narrative on him under Nick Saban, was that Rowe was a really bad practice player, but when the lights came on, he flipped the switch. And Rowe talked about it on air. He said, well, practice is very unnatural. You're working with half a field, and there's coaches on the field, and there's just variables that you don't see in a game that are introduced in a practice, which made it hard for him. Maybe it's something similar with Michael Van Buren. Van Buren in this game was outstanding. He was sharp. He was accurate. 10 of 12 throwing the football, had a touchdown pass. He also ran 4 times for 16 yards. A lot of people started to say, maybe he is the heir apparent. Maybe he is, but I don't know that him taking over with a 6-touchdown lead in the second half of a game against an outmanned FCS opponent that was already been beaten down is necessarily the barometer that you want to use. But again, I'd rather that than the contrary, which would be him not playing well at all. So that was fantastic to see. Defensively, you were really good. Your defense allowed 30 yards in the first half. And maybe most importantly, from Saturday night, as far as the defense is concerned, is you were able to keep the snap counts low. The most snaps that anybody on the defensive side played was 25. Harold Perkins, Javen Toviano, Devon Keys all played 25 snaps. Like, by comparison, Whit Weeks played 17 snaps in the game. So if you just think about Whit from this standpoint right now, he got ejected on the 4th play against Florida and then played just 17 snaps against Southeastern. So in the last 2 weeks, he's played 21 snaps. You want to talk about a dude that should be totally fresh, rip-roaring, ready to roll when they go to Oxford? I would think Whit Weeks would probably be in that number. The other maybe really impactful thing, there were 5 things on Friday that we told you we keep an eye on. Of course, it was Nussmeier. It was the rushing offense. It was, would we see all the Weeks brothers on the field at the same time? The answer was no. West didn't play, and then you wanted to get out of there without an injury. The other was, would Bauer Sharp score against his former team, which he did, which was cool to see. But one of the benefits of that game falling where it did, and I've talked about this a good bit throughout the offseason, is the fact that while, yes, you have landmines all over your schedule, the way the schedule is formatted, you avoid a brutal stretch at any point. And before all of your quote-unquote tough games, you get a relative breather or a layup. So before you go to Ole Miss, you had this game against an FCS team. So you gave Trey'Dez Green another week of rest. You gave West Weeks the week off. Brian Kelly said if it was a championship game, West would have been playing. But they were able to give him a week off. And on Monday afternoon, when Kelly met with reporters, he said West Weeks is good to go and he'll play this weekend, and so will Trey'Dez, which is great to see. The unfortunate thing is that Gabe Relaford and Caden Durham were both injured. Now, Durham, it doesn't seem like the ankle sprain is the high ankle. We'll see how effective he is throughout the week. Relaford, the news isn't as good. Brian Kelly said a sublation of the shoulder. I don't know what that means. Is that a separation? Is that what that means? A sublation? I don't know. But it may require surgery. So they don't know yet, but he's not going to play this week. So, just like against Louisiana Tech, you lost Braylon Moore on the first play. You lost Trey'Dez Green to a sprained MCL. Now in this game, Durham injury, Relaford could be done for, I don't know if that would be season ending or what that would mean, but if he has to have shoulder surgery, it'll keep him out a long time. And certainly he's going to miss this week against Ole Miss, so that's disappointing. But all things considered, it was one of those games on the schedule where you had an opportunity to rest some guys like West Weeks and Trey'Dez Green, so they'll be ready to go. And you had an opportunity to get a lot of young guys valuable reps before you go play on the road at Ole Miss, which was great to see as well. So one of those things where you accomplished a lot of what you wanted to see. The offense got going. Nuss threw the ball well. You ran it pretty well. You played a lot of guys on the offensive line, played a lot of guys on defense. You were able to rest some guys. You got a little confidence in your offense. So a lot of things that you like to see with this game, and LSU beating Southeastern 56-10. They are a necessary evil. It is playing in FCS school is really nothing more than a glorified scrimmage, a dress rehearsal that counts. But it counts, so go get some work done, and the Tigers did. Now they turn the page, their first road SEC game of the year at Ole Miss on Saturday. All right, it's After Further Review. We're brought to you by Bud Light. Drink easy with the great taste of Bud Light, the official beer of AFR, the official beer of the LSU Tigers. If you're hitting the road to Oxford, make sure before you go, you stock your ice chest with a bunch of Bud Light in the officially licensed LSU can. You don't want to be drinking that Ole Miss Bud Light? Heck, no, you don't. Get it from local Louisiana retailers with the officially licensed LSU can, that white can that my friend Courtney over at Mockler designed, which is beautiful. It's a hat tip to LSU's tradition wearing white jerseys at home. So check it out at great local retailers. Bud Light. Drink easy with the great taste of Bud Light, the official beer of AFR. All right, y'all, it's After Further Review. Our Monday shows are brought to you by Relief Windows. We got a ton to do. As I mentioned, we'll probably say a lot this year. LSU wins, Saints lose. It's going to be a pretty common reality on a lot of Mondays. But this Saints loss was horrific. And unfortunately, we're going to talk about it when we come back on AFR.
After Further Review.
We're brought to you by Clegg's Nursery with 4 locations in the greater Baton Rouge area. You know where they are. Siegen Air Airline, LA16 in Denham, Mid-City on Donmore, and the Garden Center on Greenwell Springs. Love telling you to buy local and shop local over at Clegg's Nursery. They're just the best. I love telling you about Clegg's Nursery because they're a great local company that's been around for 60 years. They have a great selection and awesome, knowledgeable staff. And right now, they have all of their fall decor displays out. If it's the pumpkins and the hay bales and the squash and the gourds and the wheat stalks and the scarecrows, they got all of it. So you want to decorate your front porch or your back patio, nobody's got a better selection than Clegg's. Always, always, always encourage you to bypass the big box store. Bypass the big box store and do business with a local company that's been serving our community for 6 decades. 4 locations in the greater Baton Rouge area. Buy local, shop local. Tell them Matt sent you into Clegg's Nursery.
After Further Review, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding, and oh, we do shutters too.
All the way back to his 6-yard line. Horton on the return at the 20, right up the middle to the 30. Now Horton to the outside. Torrey Horton down the sideline. And it's a touchdown. 95 yards.
It's a test of adversity. It's how you respond. You have to narrow your focus, look at the items that are good, and certainly recognize those. But again, we did not do enough to start the game to put ourselves in a really good position to be competitive there. And so, there's no one's going to feel bad for you. No one's going to come save you or anything. We got to put in a bunch of work, and we got to get better right now and put ourselves in a better position moving forward.
That felt a lot like my childhood. Oh, man. Saints lose to the Seahawks 44-13. You know, I'm going to say this probably every Monday after a Saints game this year. I am not mad about losses because I, unlike some of you, had realistic expectations coming into the season. I spent the last really 6 months trying to explain to you using both subjective and objective data how much of a challenge this season was going to be. Most of you understood. Some of you didn't want to hear it. Now everybody sees it. So, not mad about the loss. There's going to be a lot of those this year, and I'd prepared myself for that. And I don't care if 37-year-old Kellen Moore wants to practice late because he likes to sleep in. I don't care if Kellen Moore wants to have a super light training camp. I don't care about any of that. As long as the team is tough and disciplined. And right now they are neither. And there isn't a soul alive that can argue to the contrary. After being flagged 16 times in the season opener with 13 accepted, you would think that would be a real inflection point for this team. No. Went out on Sunday against Seattle, 11 penalties. They are not smart. They are not disciplined. They are not tough. They do not handle adversity. They do not make plays. They are bad. This was a comedy of errors. Just look at the sequencing in the first half, and you'll understand what I mean. Opening possession, you decide, let's go for it on 4th down, near midfield. Okay, cool. You actually dial up the play. Alvin Kamara's open. Rattler missed him. Now, did Rattler miss him? Was Kamara backpedaling? I don't know. Probably a little bit of blame on both. But it was there. So you face a little adversity. Seattle gets the ball near midfield. Boom, touchdown. Oh, by the way, it wasn't just as simple as touchdown. You had gotten off the field. You had gotten a stop on 3rd down. Your defense was going to hold him to a field goal. And then Brian Brzee headbutts a dude, gives him a 1st down, and then they score. Stupid, undisciplined play. Gives him a touchdown. So then you get the ball. And guess what? You got a 4th and 1. You're going to go for it again. And you false start. So now you got a punt. And they house the punt 96 yards for a touchdown. Now you're down 14-0. On your next drive, you committed 4 penalties on that drive. What did you say? 4 penalties on your next drive. False start by Banks, false start by Olave, holding by Banks, holding by Richards. So then you got a punt because you're way behind the sticks, and they block the punt. And they score. Your next drive, Rattler throws a pick, got bailed out because of an illegal contact. You get a field goal. You kick off to Seattle. They return the kickoff 60 yards. Short field, 3 plays, 38 yards. They're in the end zone, 28-3. By the way, with all that bad special teams play, the inability to cover, it sure would be nice if you had a good, special teams ace, wouldn't it? It'd be really nice if you had someone that maybe was an all-pro special teamer. Maybe even a team captain that was on special. Oh, wait, you had that in JT Gray, and you cut him. So you could re-sign Jake Haener. Way to go, Mick. Bang-up job as always. I'm not done. You're down 28-3. Devon Gottschall gets a personal foul on top of a 45-yarder to JSN. They'd score a couple plays later, 35-3. Next offensive possession, false start by Banks, illegal shift by Chris Olave, and on 4th and 2, down 35-3, Ellen decides to kick a field goal. You're down 35-3. You're down 32 points. You're down 4 touchdowns. You're down 4 touchdowns. You're down 32. What the hell good's a field goal going to do you down 4 touchdowns? Didn't change anything. You're still down 4 touchdowns. Why would you care? Why would you? By the way, he missed it. So now Blake Grupe, who was all everything in training camp, is 2 for 5 on field goals so far through 3 games. He's missed a kick in every game. I'm not good at math, but that means he's on pace to miss 17 kicks this year. That's not good. Not done, by the way. And by the way, Olave, false start and the legal shift. He's supposed to be a number 1 receiver. Everyone who keeps hitting me with that, when are you going to acknowledge Chris Olave is not a 1? At best, he's a number 2. He might be your number 1 because you stink, but at best he's a number 2. They tried to do a quarterback sneak. Fadil Diggs was offsides. They get a field goal. It's 38-3. And then you get another situation right there before the end of the first half where you're down at the 3-yard line with 3 seconds to go, and you're down 38-3, so you're down 35 points. Down 35 points. Instead of going for a touchdown, down 35 points, you kick the 23-yard field goal as time expires. Why? To make yourself feel good? To go down 38-6? Y'all. Kellen Moore, I fear, is in over his head. And I'm not trying to be hyperbolic. I'm not trying to overreact to one game. And I would understand it if there were things. I would understand it if the reason you were losing was just because you didn't have good players, right? Like if you're just getting beat. I mean, let's face it. Torricelli Simpkins was an undrafted rookie free agent was starting at left guard for you. Like again, against Byron Murphy. Like, how do you think that's going to go? Of course that's not going to go well. So I'm not mad about Torricelli Simpkins having a bad day. He's an undrafted rookie being thrown in there to start at his first at Seattle against a former first-round pick. Of course that's not going to go well. That's not my problem. The problem is the 11 penalties. The problem is the bad effort on special teams, allowing a 95-yard punt return, allowing a 60-yard kickoff return, allowing a punt block. Like, those are effort things. Those are discipline things that you can control. And when you don't do those things, that's when I look and go, what is Kellen Moore doing? And it leads me to believe, like, they don't respect him. They may like him, but there's a big difference between liking and respecting. And I hear some people say, well, Kellen Moore needs to go yelling on the sideline. No, he doesn't. Because that's not his way. And if you're introduced to the team and you have a certain demeanor, and then when things start going bad, you change your demeanor, now all of a sudden you're a yeller, they're going to look at you like a fraud. Because that's not who he is. And that's okay. Tony Dungy showed the world, like, you don't have to be an a-hole to be a great coach. Like, you can be a player's coach. And it's okay if your players like you, but they have to respect you. And with the consistent, undisciplined play, that, I wonder, that lack of discipline, I think, is a reflection of a lack of respect to the coach and authority. No different than in a household. If you keep breaking curfew, if you don't clean your room, wash your dishes when your parents tell you to, you don't respect your parents. You don't fear retribution. Like, you just do whatever you want. I feel like that's where the Saints are right now. They like him. I don't think they respect him. That's complete. By the way, that's a completely subjective, just my opinion, just watching. I know nothing about the goings on in that locker room. But then I look at Kellen Moore and I go, the end of the first half against Arizona, you didn't use the timeouts. The fourth down decisions in this game were head scratching. I just don't know that. I don't know that he knows how to manage a game. I think he's a good play caller. He's shown that in his young career. He could be a good play caller and a good offensive-minded coach. I don't know if he knows how to manage a game and a team and a roster and all that stuff. That's where he's learning on the job. There's a steep learning curve, and I hope he catches up quickly. But this is all the manifestation of Mickey Loomis. This is what happens when you draft poorly for a decade. This is what happens when you don't make a commitment at the quarterback position. This is what happens when you stick with Dennis Allen and you're comparing him to Chuck Noll and Tom Landry. Like, this is what happens when you make a bad financial decision with Derek Carr. Like, this is what happens to your roster. And you're stuck with this. And it's going to be a long year. They're going to lose a ton. And it's not going to get better because they're going to Buffalo this week where they're a 16.5-point underdog. It's not going to get better. They're going to scratch out some wins. They're not going winless. The Giants are a disaster, and they'll be in the Dome. The Patriots aren't any good. They'll be in the Dome. You get the Jets in the Dome as well. I mean, you get to play Carolina and Atlanta. I mean, Carolina just beat Atlanta 30-0 yesterday. Like, division games, because of familiarity, there's opportunity. Like, there's opportunities. They're going to win games. They're not going winless. But it's just expect more of this type of Sunday and subsequent feeling on Monday. That was hideous. That was hideous to watch from all three phases. And I just don't think you certainly don't have the roster to fix it right now. And I don't know that Kellen Moore knows what to do with this crop of players to make them more productive more disciplined, tougher. Those are the types of things that every player controls. And that's inarguable. With all of the penalty, like you cannot sit here today and tell me this is a tough and disciplined team. They're not. Top to bottom, they are not. You cannot look at the penalties and the effort plays like special teams and tell me this is a tough, disciplined team. And that is probably the most disappointing thing of all of this. Beat goes on. They'll get blown out of Buffalo. They'll be 0-4. Season's over. Not that they were ever contending for anything. Of course, they're not going to be a playoff team. I think everyone understands that. Now it's just a matter of how much better can they get. And, unfortunately, guys like Kool-Aid McKinstry, some of the young draft picks you were hoping to see emerge this year are not looking the part. But long season, and those are some of the storylines layered within that will follow through the next 15 weeks. All right, it's After Further Review. We're brought to you by First South Farm Credit. If you're thinking of buying land, your first call should be to First South Farm Credit. Go to firstsouthland.com. That's firstsouthland.com. It doesn't matter if it's recreational land for hunting property. Of course, deer season is about to begin, and you're going to be sharing that deer lease again with someone else, and you're tired of doing that. You want to own your own property. First South Farm Credit can make that a reality. Start by going to firstsouthland.com. That's firstsouthland.com. Maybe you live in New Orleans and you want to move to the North Shore so you can have the rural lifestyle work in the city. First South Farm Credit can help. Go to firstsouthland.com. That's firstsouthland.com. All right, y'all, it's After Further Review. Monday shows are brought to you by Relief Windows. Got Peter Burns in 30 minutes from right now. A lackluster schedule in the Southeastern Conference, but I feel like we did learn a few things within the league. The Auburn-Oklahoma game was fascinating. Missouri-South Carolina, I think, was telling about both teams. Vanderbilt put up a 70-burger. So Florida lost again. Got a lot to dive into with Pete. We'll get to that. Also, if you missed, On3 leaked the future annual rivals in the SEC, which is set to be announced on Tuesday. But On3, Chris Lowe leaked it, or someone leaked it to Chris Lowe here on Monday. So we know LSU's opponents and the three annual opponents as they'll play out. But now I'm sure you saw for LSU, it'll be Texas A&M, Ole Miss, and Arkansas. So no Bama, no Florida, no Auburn. We'll talk about that with Pete as well. All right, glad to have you hanging out with us here. Let's knock out a quick break. Come back, go around the SEC. It's AFR.
AFR.
Y'all, the home buying market is starting to heat up. Happens every year around this time. Most people assume that like spring, summer is the real hot months for real estate. Not in our market. It's actually October, November. And the reason actually makes a lot of sense. If you want to be in your new home for the holidays or be in your new home for the new year, this is the time people start really putting their homes on the market and looking for a new place. So if that's you, if you're thinking about selling your home, the first thing you got to do is know how much your home is worth. Go to agent225.com. I challenge you to do it right now. Get out your phone, go to the website. Like, seriously, there's a home value tool on the home page at agent225.com. Just click home value, punch in your address, and within a matter of seconds, I mean, literally as long as it takes you to type up your address, you can have your home value right there. Agent225.com.
Think real estate, think Darren James.
After Further Review, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding, and we do shutters too.
Matt, it's been rumored for some time that he wanted his son Steven to take over, so it's not as big a shock as maybe some in college basketball are treating it. But what shouldn't be overlooked here is the incredible, indelible job that he has done. I mean, he will leave a legacy there that is almost unsurpassed with those two Final Four appearances in a very short period of time, 6 years. He's a seminal figure in college basketball, but what's most important is he took over a moribund program and made it one of the most feared and respected in the country.
That is Paul Feinbaum on the news that Pete Thamel and Jeff Borzello broke earlier today, followed by a statement from Bruce Pearl. If you go to any of the Auburn basketball social medias, Bruce Pearl, it's about a 14-minute video with Pearl sitting at his desk in his office and addressing the Auburn fan base. He's writing a letter and dictating and then talks through it. So Bruce Pearl is retiring from Auburn after a short run. He's 65 years old. He certainly has abundant energy, but he's been at Auburn for, I say a short run. He's been there for 11 years, so more than a decade. And he was the guy that led Tennessee to great heights, and then had a barbecue where he fed some players. But more than the barbecue, it was that fact that he lied about the barbecue, which is what got him in trouble with the NCAA. Of course, he was out of coaching for a bit while he had a show cause, got back in at Auburn. He has been awesome. 246 and 125 during his time there at Auburn. This last year, Auburn went to its second ever Final Four appearance, both of them under Bruce Pearl. Incidentally, they were the number one overall seed in the men's tournament. They won the SEC regular season championship this past year. They won 32 games. Of course, they lost to Florida in the Final Four in the national semifinal. Florida would go on to win the national championship, as you well know. But Bruce Pearl has long discussed, a career in politics, and in this video said that instead of going to run for senator, he's going to be sort of a senator at Auburn, I guess in some, emeritus role that'll serve there with the university. I don't know that if I don't know necessarily that rules out Bruce Pearl running for office. We'll see what, if anything, may come of that. But it's a pretty seismic move there. And Bruce Pearl's son, Stephen Pearl, was his associate head coach, has now been elevated to the full-time head coach there at Auburn. Nepotism at its finest, but whatever. I think that's, if I can give you an opinion, I think that's absolutely absurd. I mean, Auburn at this point, considering their investment, their arena, everything, is one of the best jobs in college basketball. They certainly could have gotten a proven winning coach to come in and take that job from Bruce Pearl. Instead, they'll have his unproven son taking over. But whatever, that's Auburn's decision and their problem moving forward. The guy who broke the news, Jeff Borzello, was on with Peter Burns on the SEC Network and had this to say about the timing of the decision.
Well, the timing obviously is what makes it interesting, and there's a few factors that go into this. One, he's been kind of surrounded by political rumors over the last few months. Tommy Tuberville, former college football coach, announced he's running for governor, leaving open that Senate seat in Alabama. Pearl has been rumored to be a potential candidate for it. He is neither confirmed nor denied whether he's thinking about doing it, whether he's going to run. And the other factor is, with the timing of it, this allows him to step down and give his son, Stephen, a chance to prove himself as the head coach. Stephen was never announced as the coach in waiting or anything like that, but Bruce has always wanted his son to replace him, and doing it now in late September with just a few weeks until the season starts, it allows Stephen to take over for the season, maybe longer, we don't know yet, and prove himself as the head coach.
Again, that was Jeff Borzello who broke the news with Pete Thamel. So time before the start of the season here, but an interesting decision, no doubt, for Bruce Pearl. We'll see if career in politics does follow. In any event, it's after further review. Brought to you by Parish Restoration, parishrestoration.com. Kill mold, remove odor. I've told you forever about all my experiences with Jim Woodworth and the great staff over at Parish Restoration. It's their patented non-toxic dry fog. But a certain purple and gold quarterback recently had an experience with Parish Restoration he'd like to tell you about.
Tiger fans, this is Garrett Nussmeyer. When my home had a serious mold problem, I turned to Parish Restoration. Owner Jim Woodworth and his team treated my house with their patented non-toxic dry fog system. It was safe, effective, and the results were incredible. If your home or office has mold, trust the experts I trust. Parish Restoration. Visit parishrestoration.com today. Go Tigers.
How about that? They dry fog Garrett Nussmeyer's house. Apparently they had mold in the house, and it was a serious mold problem in the house they bought. Garrett brought in Parish Restoration. Jim and the team dry fogged the whole thing, got the mold out. Pretty powerful testimonial there. So do what the quarterback of the Tigers does. Call Parish Restoration. Parishrestoration.com. Parishrestoration.com. All right, do it every day about this time. Let's go around the SEC.
Around the SEC, bringing you the biggest news from the nation's best conference, the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Running back Jam Miller and defensive lineman Tim Keenan will play for Alabama Saturday as they visit number 5 Georgia. Kalen DeBose making that announcement on Monday. Miller's been out with a collarbone injury. Keenan hurt his ankle just before the season opener against Florida State, needed that tightrope surgery. Alabama is 102nd in the country in rushing offense. So Miller returning be a big boost there. They just haven't actually been able to get a good pass rush either without Keenan. We'll see if he makes an impact on the defensive side of the ball.
The Florida Gators.
Defensive back Dijon Johnson will undergo surgery Monday on his right knee. That according to Swamp 24/7. It is a meniscus, not an ACL, according to 24/7. It is, however, significant enough to keep him away from the field for the foreseeable future. Might actually be season-ending. Johnson started in the 26-7 loss to Miami and suffered the injury on the opening drive of the second half. With Johnson sidelined, Cormani McClain expected to step into a larger role for the Gators at cornerback.
The Kentucky Wildcats.
And Cutter Boley is the new QB1 for the Wildcats as they head to South Carolina this week. Boley got the start against Eastern Michigan ahead of the bye week. Zach Calzada was still listed as the starter despite the shoulder injury that he suffered against Ole Miss in week 2. Calzada dressed against Eastern Michigan. Was available, but he did not see the field. Bo Allen went out in the fourth quarter to put the game away. Boley now on the depth chart, formerly QB1 with Calzada listed as the backup to go alongside Allen. All right, there's around the SEC. Our Monday shows are brought to you by Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. Windows door siding. Oh, yeah, they do shutters as well. It's Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. Install those energy-efficient replacement windows. Beautiful entry doors, hardy plank, vinyl siding. They'll make your home more energy efficient. They do awesome work over at Relief Windows. It'll add an extra layer of security. It'll beautify the exterior of your home. It'll increase your home's resale value. Just start with that call or visit the website, 288-8138, 288-8138, 288-8138, or ReliefWindows.com. One other thing real quick from this past weekend in the Southeastern Conference, Arkansas blew an 18-point lead to Memphis in the Liberty Bowl. By the way, why are you even playing that game at Memphis like we talked about last week? They had a big lead, blew it because Arkansas stinks. Sam Pittman very much in the crosshairs. Does he make it through the end of the season after a game like that? Maybe not. Of course, the offensive coordinator is former Arkansas head coach Bobby Petrino, who Brandon Marcello on the College Football Insiders podcast said is kind of tilling the soil for a takeover.
A year ago, I'll say this, there was a lot of reluctance about Bobby Petrino taking over as interim head coach if that opportunity came to be. I was told even at the time that Travis Williams, the defensive coordinator, would most likely be the interim coach. Fast forward to now, the weakness of that team is by far the defense. There's a lot more push for maybe Petrino should be the interim head coach. And I will tell you, from people I've spoken to, Bobby Petrino's been working them phones, baby. He's been talking a lot behind the scenes. He's positioning himself to take over the Arkansas football program, at least on an interim basis, if Sam Pittman's fired.
Time heals all wounds, I suppose. Who says you can't go home? From crashing motorcycles with co-eds on the back and a silly neck brace and scarred up face all the way back from Western Kentucky and Montana State, now could very well be the boss hog yet again. We'll see what the future may hold. Really tough loss for Arkansas, blowing an 18-point lead. I mean, really tough just playing that game at the Liberty Bowl. And for an offense with Taylor Green that's looked pretty good this year, it's just been really rough. Now, this Saturday, Arkansas plays Notre Dame at home. And then after that, they're at Tennessee, Texas A&M, Auburn, Mississippi State, at LSU, at Texas, and then Missouri. God bless. Just an absolutely brutal slate. And there's very little chance that Sam Pittman makes it through this season. Could very well be Bobby Petrino on the sideline when Arkansas comes to Baton Rouge in November. We'll follow it. It's AFR.
AFR. After further review, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding. And oh, we do shutters too.
Wrapping up hour number 1. Peter Burns, about 10 minutes from right now. Every Thursday, Muse Pauly and I tell you 3 things we're keeping an eye on. We come back on Monday, tell you how it went. We call it what we learned. Let's hit it.
We watched. Now, let's review.
All right. Matthew Douglas Musso.
No, that's not it. I learned that Texas Tech, if for real, that was an impressive win. For real in terms of the Big 12, let me clarify. That was a really impressive win by the Red Raiders, man. They went out, spent all the money. They didn't play anyone with a pulse the first 3 weeks, and now they go on the road to Rice-Eccles, and they were in control of that game really from jump. 3 first-half turnovers forced. They shut down the Utah running game and then extended the lead 24-7. And even after suffering an injury to their starting quarterback, the backup, Will Hammond, comes in, leads 2 touchdown drives of his own. Texas Tech looking like the class of the Big 12 along with Iowa State here early.
Ole Miss had a statement win against Tulane over the weekend.
No mention of TCU there?
Comes in my takeaways later in the show. But
Yeah,
yes.
people may not be here 2 hours from now.
I really like their quarterback, and I think he's great and is leading that team to success.
Bears mentioning if you're going to mention the class of the Big 12, right?
More at 5:30.
Paulie.
Yeah, so Ole Miss, they knocked off Tulane 45-10.
Saw that.
Trinidad Chambliss had himself a day. Passed for 307, passed for 2 touchdowns, ran for 112, hit a long of 41 yards. Ole Miss may have a quarterback controversy on their hands.
Well, last Thursday we were looking at Dolphins-Bills. Mike McDaniel had the best odds of being the first coach fired. They were playing Buffalo. Didn't go well. They lost 31-21 there. It's fairly competitive. It was a tie game at half. But Buffalo ultimately did what Buffalo does because they're way better and ended up beating the Dolphins. McDaniel's still the coach in Miami, but clock's ticking. Dolphins are 0-3.
I was looking at Nebraska and Michigan, see if Nebraska could really kind of announce themselves in the Big Ten like many thought preseason. They couldn't. Just a bunch of missed opportunities for the Cornhuskers in this game. The first drive, I mean, you have an opportunity to kick a field goal, go up 3-0. You don't, and you lose the game by 3. There was also other red zone follies. Tough look on the home field in Memorial Stadium for the Huskers.
I was watching Bengals and Vikings. It was a battle of the backups, and it wasn't close from the start. Vikings dominated. Jamar Chase for the Bengals had 5 catches, 50 yards. Justin Jefferson for the Vikings, 5 catches, 75 yards. Both teams now 2-1.
Turnovers in the first half were brutal for the Bengals in that one. Bears were a slight favorite over Dallas. We were looking at it because Ben Johnson was one of 3 first-time head coaches who had not yet gotten a win. Of course, Alan Moore and Aaron Glenn were the other
Alan
2.
Moore.
And Ben Johnson and the Bears did work. 31-14. They pound Dallas. One that was never in doubt. It was 14-3 after the first quarter, and the Bears never looked back. Ben Johnson gets his first win as a head coach.
Texans have themselves an uphill climb. 0-3 now after dropping a defensive battle to the Jaguars. Had 2 chances under 3 minutes. Deep in Jacksonville territory. Turned it over both times. Go home with the L.
I was watching the NFC West showdown between the Niners and the Cardinals. The 49ers, Eddie Pinheiro hit the walk-off field goal as time expired. Both teams did lose key players for the season. James Conner with an ankle and Nick Bosa for the 49ers suffered torn ACL.
And because y'all didn't mention it, I did. Auburn, Oklahoma, it was the game of the weekend as far as implications went. Oklahoma 24-17. Didn't come without controversy. The league did issue a statement saying that one of Oklahoma's touchdowns should not have actually stood.
Bruh.
I mean, I actually love the play. We'll talk about that more in a bit. But a nice win for the Sooners on not a spectacular day for John Mateer, but enough to get it done. Oklahoma beats Auburn 24-17. That's what we learned. We're brought to you by Arco Power Systems, ARCCO, Arco.com, 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 ARCCO. This is Generac Industrial Generator Power. So this is not for your home. Let me be very clear. These are not home generators. These are for your businesses. What type of business doesn't matter. If it's essential systems like the healthcare systems, hospitals, if it's the power grid, if it's grocery stores, if it's gas stations, if it's essential businesses, or any business. Think about it. The power goes out. What does your business do? Arco Power Systems has the result. ARCCO. Baton Rouge, as far west as San Antonio, east to Mobile, north to Little Rock. Arco.com, Arco.com, ARCCO, Arco.com. All right, y'all, it's After Further Review. Peter Burns coming up after SportsCenter.
AFR.
And I love telling you about Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry, LMFJ.com, LMFJ.com for Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. Lee Michaels, they're the best. They've been doing this for 40 years now. And when you've stayed in business for 40 years and you've served the local communities and you've grown responsibly, you have the type of success that Lee Michaels does, meaning with 10 stores, when Mr. Scott goes on these diamond buying trips all over the world, all throughout the year, because he has the buying power of 10 stores, he's able to get the best selection and deliver great prices. Make the comp like Goldilocks all the time, right? There's too hot, too cold, there's just right. Well, like the big box stores are impersonal and cookie cutter. The little boutique jewelers generally tend to be really expensive and you don't have as good a selection. With Lee Michaels, they got everything at the best price. If they don't have what you want, they'll find it. They can't find it, they'll make it. It's Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. Check them out online at lmfj.com.